So with that, it's over to you, Mick, and I'll let you know for a minute.
Okay. Thanks, Ian. My name's Mick from Mick. Thanks for taking the meeting, and anybody else who does service at the meeting. You know, I was kind of sat here really kind of relaxed and chilled, you know what I mean? And I've got a lot of acceptance in my life today. I don't really wake up and you know that I'm going to do a chair and have to do 5 million chairs on the way anymore. Do you know what I mean? You know, the acceptance is it is what it is. I'm here to give a message of hope, and I'm sure I can do that. If that's for 5 minutes, if that's for 10 minutes, if that's for 20 minutes, that's all I need to do. You know, because as I sit along and readings are going on, and my head starts to then join in with it. You know, as the fear comes up, I understand today I suffer from a fear-based illness. And as the readings come closer, then the radio starts to just turn up a little bit. Do you know what I mean? Share on this, that'll make them laugh. This will do. You know, and it starts, and I kind of like, you know, I'm used to that kind of thing that lies in between my ears, my illness, what I suffer with, you know. Today I understand it. You know, for many years I didn't. I didn't really get why I used and how I used, like, and why I was causing so much pain and so much misery to every single person that was around me, you know. Before I can share on step 2, you know, I have to mention a little bit of step 1, because step 2 is all about hope. When I walked in there, I was hopeless, you know. So I can't mention step 2 without mentioning step 1. You know, it says at the start as well, we came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. We came to believe. I used to look at it, we came to believe. You know, I first came to a meeting in, I think it must have been about 1983, 84. It was a total different kind of vibe that we have today. We're kind of lucky and blessed, really, do you know what I mean? That we've got meetings and meetings. Or it was kind of bohemian to me, do you know what I mean? There was people in meetings, like women had feathers in their hair, and you know, I was sat there with my fucking shell suits on. Like scared, you know, peering through me little fucking quiff at people going, never seen them in out of state. You know what I mean? Fucking, oh, they were talking about hitting, and it says in here, doesn't it? You know what I mean? Because I also suffer from a judgmental mind. That these people were talking about getting scripts at the dilly and all this, and I was thinking, what do you want to do that for? Come to our estate, you don't have to go to fucking doctors to get geared on our estate, do you know what I mean? And what I understand today is my illness is an illness of separation. Do you know what I mean? So straight away I'm in there and it's separating me from you. Doesn't want me in there, obviously it wants me dead. So it makes me look around the meeting and disassociate myself. They're all very posh. Do you know what I mean? There's one. Do you know what I mean? They probably get their gear in a little Laura and Ashley fucking rap. Do you know what I mean? The dialogue starts. Do you know what I mean? Don't want to go back there, lad. Do you know what I mean? And I kept coming back. I didn't come back for the meeting. I came back because they were playing football on a Friday and I got a job painting with a few people. Do you know what I mean? But I hadn't come to believe. Do you know what I mean? I was in there and I was sat in meetings and I found them very fascinating. Do you know what I mean? Coming from this tiny little estate to walking around Leicester Square and sitting in meetings with people I'd never mixed with in my life. I found that kind of interesting, but I wasn't ready for recovery, you know. When I was in it, there was kind of things that I kind of sometimes if I could get out of staring and off at the ceiling and judging everyone, do you know what I mean? I heard fucking powerlessness, and I'm thinking, fucking powerlessness, fucking hell. I can definitely relate to that, do you know what I mean? I could definitely relate to powerlessness. Explain what powerlessness means to you, someone said to me after the meeting, and it's kind of profound with me. Do you know what I mean? It was you know, the smell of the day, the whole morning. I can remember like it was yesterday. My eyes have opened up like that. It's like Father Ted. You know, what is it? You know, they used to say to me in sleep, what are your triggers? And I said to this counsellor, my fucking eyeball opens, boss. It's triggered. I'd have to look out the window. It's light. Fuck that. What am I going to do today? I'm triggered. I can't fucking stand fucking light. I might have to go out and live. You know what I mean? So that was the trigger. And as soon as my eyeball had opened, it'd be drugs, steal, manipulate. Just you know what I mean? The thought pattern of getting, finding, using means go. And back in the day, there wasn't like we didn't have meetings. So there was no meetings. We didn't have sponsors. We didn't have agencies or you know, places where you could come. Do you know what I mean? We knew nothing and we'd get nothing. So as soon as my eyeball had opened in the morning, it would be the obsession to use would be so powerful. You know, I would go to any lengths to get my drugs, and my powerlessness was one morning, known quite well that my owl girl is now sleeping on a purse. I mean, she doesn't leave it lying around anymore, she sleeps on it. And I'd done this mission, crawling on my hands and knees, and as I was crawling, I had this fight going on in my head, going, what are you doing? Like, what in the name of God are you fucking doing? You are, like, on your hands and knees here, trying to steal a fiver out your old girl's purse, known quite well. This woman's brought us up. My dad's died when we were kids, do you know what I mean? There's nothing we don't have to want for. We didn't have a lot. We had meals, we had clean clothes, we had bedding, we had no chaos in the house. She done her utmost best, and I had this fight going on in my head going, you don't need to do this. But then Dr. Jekyll and Dr. Hyde is the other ones going, you need it, you're ill, you're sick. Do you know what I mean? There's no one going to help you out here, do you know what I mean? There's no cash converters, do you know what I mean? There's no, you know, a fiver was a fiver back in the day, do you know what I mean? It wasn't easy to come by. So when I was in the meeting, I kind of got an understanding of an example of my powerless, do you know what I mean? Because I didn't want to do it. So over the years of kind of going in and out of meetings and having that, did I have a desire? Probably didn't, but still went to meetings anyway. You know, I kind of got a little bit from what NA had to offer me. And my example is them fellas that I was going to the meetings remained clean. They didn't use. They got lies, they got everything else, do you know what I mean? You know, that they seem to be, you know, progressing in their lives. So when, you know, I believe for me, you know, the using went on and on and on. And, you know, the hope that was installed in them by going to them early the noise of that started to get a little bit louder. I was getting older. You know, someone was talking before, you know, about, you know, waiting on a phone call and I'll be 5 minutes. You know, insanity. Actually believing the fella is going to be here in 5 minutes. You know what I mean? 3 hours later, you know what I mean, I'm going to smash his head in. Yeah, I'm going to know what he can do with this. I'm going to get the gear. I'm going to weigh him in. I'm going to batter him. Do you know what I mean? He's kept me waiting here for 3 hours. Do you know what I mean? The same fella done the same thing the day before, yeah, and his gear was shite. But today it's all going to be different, right? Today his gear is going to be a little bit different because it's at 12 o'clock at night. Somehow his fucking gear changed into shite to good. You know what I mean? I've convinced myself in my head, my insanity's so loud, I believe, yeah, it's all going to be fucking different. And as soon as he turned up, by the time I got halfway down the stairs, I thought, you know what, weighing him in's a bit harsh, innit? Do you know what I mean? He has actually fucking turned up, do you know what I mean? I go downstairs and ask him, how are you? Do you know what I mean? Are you alright? I remember once he said to me, I've just come out of church to see you. I thought, what a lovely fella. Oh, what a lovely fella. Do you know what I mean? Here, there's your money, mate. Get back to church and enjoy the rest of your day. Do you know what I mean? You know, because then I've had the relief. Do you know what I mean? So I've, you know, the solution to my problem was the drugs, do you know what I mean? It's been given to me all of a sudden, that mood altering stuff has changed me into this, to that, everything's alright, insanity, you know? And I got to a point where, like, as I say, as you get older and you're waiting on doorsteps and there's kids turning up on little grifters, mate, it was getting a bit too much for me, do you know what I mean? You know, the God of me understanding, he's starting to put the screws on me, you know what I mean, right? Because I always had a conscience of a power greater than me, even when I was using. I'm not going to go into it, to you know, don't want to alienate anyone, but my culture was, when we were brought up, we went to church every Sunday, do you know what I mean? And sometimes I still go, but I'm not going to go there. So I had an idea of a power greater than me. I knew there was a power greater than me. The evidence was the kids on the estate that I was growing up with, that I talked about, are starting to drop like flies. Kids who I went to school with were dying weekly, right? And I'd look and I'd go, he's fucking dead. Fucking poor fuckhead, do you know what I mean? He didn't actually use like me even, do you know what I mean? So I kind of had this understanding, fucking hell, do you know what I mean? Maybe it's God, do you know what I mean? Maybe he's got you here for a reason, maybe it's not your turn. Anyway, well, that's sad, better go out and use, do you know what I mean? That was my concept of a power greater than me. And so we got to around about, I was starting to, you know, that spiritual rock bottom. It weren't the consequences, it wasn't my health, it wasn't, I was just fucking beating for this daily fucking grind of life. Hopeless, do you know what I mean? A hopeless way of living. And started to make a decision, so I started to come to believe that there was a power greater than me, do you know what I mean? It was in these meetings. Because I reverted back to the early days of going to meetings where people were talking about powerlessness. There's your powerlessness, Mick. Do you know what I mean? Waiting for the fella to come every day and convincing yourself it's going to be different. So it kind of clicks in your head, all this stuff, over many years. I didn't walk into the first meeting and get it. Loads of people do. Do you know what I mean? That wasn't my journey. So I was in this long-term relationship, and it you know, I was trying my best. I was doing my best. I'm not a bad fella. When I'm using, I'll do my best. Do you know what I mean? And I knew it had ended, and I started to seek a power greater than me. I can't do it on my own. There's an admission. Right? I can't do this on my own. I'm not one of these people who can sit in the front rooms and do a detox. I'm one of them right old shit houses in the treatment centre. As soon as you get a bead of sweat on, oh, fucking hell, I'm dying, yo, give me some more. You know what I mean? Oh, I couldn't do it. So I was beaten to a point where I went into this place like this. You give out your script, been going in there. It changed buildings a couple of times by the time I've gone in there. And there was a fella in there, this fella Jeff, and I'd go in there every week. He was a great support worker. Never said fuck all about meetings, recovery, there's your script. Did you watch the match on Saturday? Yeah. And we'd talk about half an hour about how we could change England's back four, do you know what I mean? Never a fucking sign of me ever going to a meeting. Anyway, he walks in there this day and he went, what's the match on Saturday? I said, Jeff, fuck the football, lad, I've had enough. He said, what do you mean? What do you mean? Didn't you watch it? I went, I've had enough, I'm done, I'm beaten. He's like, fucking looking at me, you're weird, you know what I mean? It's like, kind of like he was losing his mate. What do you mean? Fucking hell, don't you get clean, I've nothing to talk to football about. Oh, I've had enough. I said, I've done, beaten. So what are you going to do? What are you going to do with the partner? It doesn't work. Do you know what I mean? I've come to believe, listen, my plan doesn't work. Me and her ain't going to run off into the sunset. Both get clean and it's all going to work out and we're all going to live happily ever after. I've come to believe it doesn't not going to work. Do you know what I mean? He said, all right. He said, well, the only place we've got to offer is Springfield. And it's kind of like an old sanitarium, you know, with the walkways in it. You see the Victorian buildings with the walkways in it. Do you know what I mean? Fucking hell, it honestly is horrible. Do you know what I mean? He went, that's the only place you're going to go. And said, send me in there anywhere. Do you know what I mean? I was beaten. And I'd done this detox, and the hope was coming into the meetings through H&I, you know, and I hear our preamble, and I'm a fully paid up member of an A, and I don't go, but if it had an A in it, I'm in it. Because other than that, we had a pool table and telly, do you know what I mean? And I don't care about how many games of pool you've had. After about 3 weeks, you fucking want to throw the thing out the window, do you know what I mean? So I would get to these meetings. I was kind of getting a power through going to these meetings. So as I'm sitting in the meeting and I'm starting to feel better, because there's one thing else that I understood and I learnt about my illness is the misinformed people told me all I've got to do is stop using drugs, you'll be alright. I think, fucking hell, that's not hard, is it? Yeah, I'd stopped using drugs, and after I let myself fucking blind for about 2 weeks, I started to feel, I'm going to feel worse. Do you know what I mean? I actually felt worse, and I think what it's talking to is the second step is necessary if you expect to achieve ongoing recovery. The first step leaves us with a need to believe in something that can help us with our powerlessness, uselessness and helplessness. The first step has left a vacuum in our lives. We need to find something to fill that void. I didn't understand that was the void. Do you know what I mean? Take the drugs away, you know, and I'm left with this massive, gaping, big void that I'm looking outside. I mean, like I said, going back, we had no meetings. So we just walk around all fucking day, just walk around helplessly, slab, just people trying to get clean, you know, trying to stay away from people, trying to stay away from areas, just sad, trying to keep each other clean. But when it came here, see, through going to the meetings, I started to understand I need to fill that void. So when I managed to do the detox, and miraculously, as things gone on in detoxes these days, it got a little bit easier. You know, it wasn't this methadone thing and something, all these kind of new drugs to make it a little bit more easier to come off, do you know what I mean? And I managed to get a day clean. A friend of mine who took me to the meeting, took me back to my flat, he took me into my flat, we went in, we cleaned methadone, we cleaned the whole, fucking hell, couldn't clean it all up, it was a mess. And he said to me, if you want what we've got to offer and willing to make the effort, you need to take certain steps. Yeah, so what does that mean? He said, well, basically, I'm too fucking busy to drive you around to meetings every day. Basically, you'd have to want to get up on your own and go to a meeting tomorrow. And I was that beaten, there wasn't, the noise was, oh, fucking hell, you can't take, yeah, I'm going to a meeting. Do you know what I mean? Because I understood the void, I understood my helplessness and my hopelessness. I'm starting now to move into step 2 by even making that decision of I'm going to go to a meeting on my own. 5 minutes, all right. So I went to this meeting, and now the hope was given to me as I walked into the meeting. As soon as I sat into the meeting, I remember just having this thing that just came over me and just went, you're in the right place here. These fucking lunatics, do you know what I mean? Your own, right? Just sit down and the beauty about, when you've hit your spiritual rock bottom, you see, for clever fuckers like me, all the answers have been taken away, so there's no, hang on a minute, not like Baldrick, I've got one more cunning plan up my sleeve, you know what I mean? They'd all gone, so the Baldricks had all gone, do you know what I mean? And I heard 90 meetings in 90 days, get a sponsor, work the steps, be restored to sanity. I came in, I'd say I had long hair, no teeth, looked like fucking Frank from Shameless. Do you know what I mean? Frank was fuck all on me because I was properly shameless, do you know what I mean? And I started the journey of being restored to sanity, rocked up with Ian's with my basic step, and me step 1, I remember it Ian in Greenwich, there was snow on the ground, I bunked the train, I dropped the sarnie, do you know what I mean? I was on my way to do my step 1, and Ian said to me, what are you going to do? What are you going to do with the steps? Do you know what I mean? I thought, well, I don't know. I'm here to do the first one, do you know what I mean? Maybe you could go on and sponsor people in the future. And I thought, well, he's off his good, this fella, isn't he? Anyway, we'll give it a go. Make me a lovely roast dinner. Make me a roast dinner every time I've done a step. So I went through the steps quicker than anyone would see ever. You know what I mean? There was no hanging about. There was a roast dinner in it, I'm in it. You know what I mean? And I started to get restored to sanity. I remember sitting in your flat and was watching Match of the Day. Me thinking, me behaviours, everything. It's kind of, you know, when you look back at it, because I'm driving here, or in the car, the aircon's, I'm looking out the window and it's like Sunday afternoon fucking drive, do you know what I mean? I come in here and I have to remind myself it's just a total different fucking life and what I do you know what I mean? I was sitting there and I remember being, Ian talked about, you know, to be restored to sanity, some restoration has to take place. So I guess that's the steps. So for me to get a firm foundation in recovery is 90 meetings in 90 days. You see, I love this thing when it says the basic text because I'm no scholar. Do you know what I mean? I don't read anything else. People go on about step 2 and I just go to, this is about 2 pages in the basic steps. I might just read it. It's got a lot in there. Do you know what I mean? And he talked about being restored and the 90 meetings in 90 days and getting a little bit of service was the firm foundation. That was the concrete, that was the slab. If you're going to build a new house, he explained to me, you wouldn't build a house on rocky foundations because your house won't last that long. Your house will start to crumble. So we done this solid step 1 and started to move in. I started to get a little bit of sanity. Do you know what I mean? How can I be restored to sanity? How was it? What was it? And I remember getting commitments, turning up half an hour, never missing me commitments. Always, you know, I was there every week. I was in 2 to 3 meetings every day for the first 2 years. Do you know what I mean? You know, I got the sponsors, as I say. I started to work and I started to move out of total and utter hopelessness, you know, into hope. Do you know what I mean? And it was funny, I tried to, how long have we got, Is that 22 seconds? 2 minutes? You know, I worry about how long I can speak for, like, but once it starts going, we'll be here till about 5:30. I'll start to wind down now. And, you know, as part of the step 2, it was funny, I've got a couple of basic texts, and it was not long ago, I opened one, I was looking for something to read out of it, and something fell out of it. And Ian done this thing where it was part of the step 2 was what your goals, dreams and aspirations were going to be in recovery. Do you know what I mean? And I'd written this list down, like get a job, stop signing on, go to the dentist, get me a haircut. Do you know what I mean? Get educated, do you know, work the steps, find a partner, get married, go on holiday. Never had a fucking passport, never went fucking nowhere. Lived in London for 35 years, got a nosebleed if I went out of Ballon into fucking Clapham. You know what I mean? You know, insanity, moving to a place in another part of the country and doing exactly what you did back home, very closed. You know what I mean? Get the job, get you know, start living a life that I was always wanted to live. Do you know what I mean? It was funny, it fell out, and I kind of looked at that thing and I was just like, most of it's ticked off. I was restored to sanity. Do you know what I mean? And I suppose the hope is, if what I heard is, if I can do it, anyone can do it. Do you know what I mean? It's fellas here in the first year, congratulations. Do you know what I mean? People have had a bit more time. We can be restored to some form of sanity and get this life that was stolen from us by the use of drugs and live it so we can have them days like today, driving around and it's nice and do you know what I mean? That's recovery. It's not about the car. It's not about the finances. It's not about anything. I've drove the missus to the stepdaughter, dropped her off. They're going to fucking Dunelms. Do you know what I mean? No, fucking hell. You know, what is it? It's that, isn't it? It's that simple, normal way of life. Do you know what I mean? And that, you see, also is why I keep coming back. because I don't want to forget where it came from in the first place, because I talked about this illness, what I suffer with. We'll switch that right on. You won't switch it on me, because I'm vigilant. Do you know what I mean? I don't want to end up there. And it was funny in the end on this, and I had all these, this fucking list. It cracked me up the other week here. And I read it and I ticked them all off, got a job, paid taxes, not defrauding no more, do you know what I mean? And the last little bit, and the last one was watch Everton in the Champions League. And it still had the cross on it, do you know what I mean? But there you go. There's always hope. That's it, I'll leave it there, thanks.
Thanks, mate.